Every year in the lead up to exams, people waste all their time churning through as many practice exams as possible, comparing the number of exams that they've done to other people as if it's some sweaty contest. Now, you might think that it's a cool flex to say you've done 50 practice exams, but the reality is that this does not work. And I know this because this is exactly what I did back in year 8 when I was at this Asian tutoring place and I was preparing for this entrance exam to get into one of the top schools in my area. And we had to do one practice exam each week for basically an entire year. And sure, it feels productive, but feeling progress is different from actually making progress. And my exam grades show that. I ended up not even passing the test. So to save you months of wasted efforts, the first thing to do is stop doing practice exams mindlessly. And one of my past teachers put this in a good way. Practice exams are summative tasks, meaning they're good for testing how much you know, but they don't actually increase how much you know. It's like preparing for a running race. So let's just use the 100-meter sprint as an example. And let's say you want to increase your time and run faster. Wait, decrease your time and run faster. And one way you could go about it is just to run 100 meters over and over again, as if it was the final race. And this definitely has its place, but if it's the only thing you do, then you'll just end up with one of those participating ribbons. And I remember back in high school when I did athletics that the training had many aspects to it. Sure, there's still a lot of running as you would expect, but it's not just 100 meters back and forth for the entire session. And so the point here is that even though the end goal is to run 100 meters as fast as you can, this does not mean the best way to prepare is by repeating the end goal. And so back to exams, when the only thing I did was practice exams under time conditions and then just repeat, sure, that was a good way of testing how much I knew about whatever subject I'm doing, but it didn't actually help me increase my knowledge. It didn't help me increase my exam grades from one to the next. And it was only later in high school when I started watching a lot of those how to study videos did I start to take a more holistic approach towards exams. And here are the core things that I've learned summarized. First of which is quickly reviewing the content. This is kind of like the warm-up and it's not meant to take that much time, but it is important because for me at least, it's been like a semester since I've looked at the content, and also because sometimes I look at my notes and go, wait, did we learn that? So quickly reviewing all the notes that you've made or the resources that you've been given, this is a good way to check that you still understand everything. And for me, it was helpful to either make a new set of summary notes based on all your new knowledge, or just edit my existing notes. And because by the end of the semester, you'll have a more holistic understanding of all the content and all the learning points, you'll be able to refine certain areas or link different concepts together. And this will help you form a nice set of summary notes, which is extremely useful when you're doing practice exams. Now, speaking of practice exams, everyone does some sort of practice papers, but not everyone gets the same result. And the reason is, it's not about how many you do, but rather how you do each one. So with practice exams, my hot take is that it's not really necessary to do all of them under exam conditions. Now, there's probably some conditions like using your phone. That's obviously necessary. You don't want to do that during your practice. But there are other things like the time limit, which are more flexible. For example, at first, I didn't even do one full practice exam from start to finish. Instead, what I did was I would start by doing a couple questions, check my answers, and then look at any mistakes that I made, and then repeat for the next question. So basically, I did the exam in increments. And the reason for this is first, it's easier to start and make progress, but more importantly, the purpose of practice exams is to apply what you've learned in an exam context. And that is far more important than time management, because hot take part 2, when people say that they can't finish the exam on time, for the majority of cases, it's not because they physically can't write fast enough that they can't finish the exam. It's more that they're unfamiliar with the content, and so they spend too much time thinking of an answer. And the way to prevent this for yourself is to take the time to go through each question. If you get it wrong or find it challenging, write down the reasons why and a detailed solution so you won't make the same mistake next time. And so paradoxically, if you take each exam slower and understand everything, you'll end up being faster anyways. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do any exam under the full conditions, but it's only something I do when I already know the content very well. So just to recap, for most of my revision, I was doing practice questions, recording mistakes in a notebook, and repeat. And the middle step here is by far the most important, because if you don't write down your mistakes, then you'll just end up repeating them again. And as a result, you will struggle to apply what you've learned to a new context. Another reason why this is crucial is because once you have a list of all your mistakes, you can kind of see if there's any trends. For example, is there a particular topic or question type that you struggle with? And then you can use practice exams to drill into particular areas of weakness. For example, when I was doing maths exams, I really struggled with those long application questions. And so I ended up doing a lot of practice just by focusing on these questions. So I ended up doing around 30 exams. Now, that's not a flex, I promise. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but for a lot of these exams, I just went through them. I picked the 1 or 2 questions that were relevant to my weakness, and then I skipped the rest. Because this way you can actually improve in areas that you have potential to gain in, as opposed to doing some simple concept 100 times that you already know very well. Now, for you to actually benefit from any revision, and especially practice exams, and something that 90% of people do not do is focus. Now, I kind of view focus as beams of light. If you're able to direct all that light onto one point, you're able to cut through things like work much more easily, like a laser, as opposed to if you just had scattered beams everywhere. It's kind of like in primary school where you and your friends grab a magnifying glass, go outside, focus all the sun's rays onto one tiny point, set a leaf on fire, as well as the school's fire alarm, but that I would know from personal experience. So it's probably common sense. Focusing is important. So here are 3 non-BS ways to actually help you focus. First, throw away your phone. Second, wear a hoodie. Now this sounds weird, but it's the same logic why horses wear blinders. It blocks out your peripheral vision so you only focus on what's in front of you. And final tip, before you work, stare at a point in your room for 1 minute and then start your work.
You're going to focus your visual attention on one point. It could be on your computer, it could be on the wall, it could be a horizon, it could be at a distance. And with some effort, you're going to hold your visual attention for 30 to 60 seconds. You just haven't really taught your brain how to focus. So start with your visual focus and then let your mental focus follow that.
Now, these last 2 tips may sound kind of weird, but it's something I've learned from Stanford neuroscientist Andrew Huberman. And it's not often I say this, but his learning tips have helped me insanely well. And I cover everything I'm doing right now to learn faster in this video right here.